Hi, welcome to the Sales Strategies for Christian Coaches podcast. I'm Justin Janowski, your host, and I took 3 attempts before I had a successful coaching business. My first time around, I only had 1 paying client and I was out of business. The second try, I had 3 paying clients and then out of business. And the third attempt, I had over 1,000 clients. I did over $250,000 in sales my first year. We've done millions of dollars in business, and now I'm helping other Christian coaches learn how to build a system around marketing, sales, learn how to get the right offers in place with the right price points so that they can actually have success and fulfill the income and impact goals that they have for their business while honoring God and honoring their clients. If you're here in this podcast, it's to get those kinds of strategies. And today I'm talking about a simple topic that's going to be really relevant for some of you and for others, not so much. If this episode isn't for you, feel free to go back to a previous episode, or if you're watching this in the future, move forward to the next one. But today what I want to talk about is where to host your next event. So if you are considering holding an event in your business as a coach, as a trainer, as an entrepreneur, here's what the event could look like. It could be a live workshop. It could be a retreat for 2 or 3 days. It could be a conference for 2 or 3 or 4 days. And if you're holding an event like that, there's really 5 different places you can host these types of events. And I want you to consider them in this order. Number 1, the best place you could probably host your first event is on Zoom. You can do almost anything on Zoom, but the reason I love Zoom so much is there are far fewer logistical things as a new coach or a new entrepreneur for you to consider when you're running an event on Zoom. It's also free or nearly free to run an event on Zoom versus the other options I'm going to lay out, which have expenses associated with them, more expenses for you, more expenses for your clients. And so if you are thinking about running your first event, I would encourage you to consider doing it on Zoom, getting a trial run in a free environment. Design it the same way you design a retreat or a conference, with experiences and content and sessions and breaks and all the different things, and begin that way. Now, if you're in a position where you want to run a live event, I'll tell you that in person, that's really special. So while I think Zoom is a first consideration for every new coach or entrepreneur, there's something incredible about being together in person that cannot be replicated online. So if you're ready for that, you're ready for the in-person experience, the second place you can consider hosting your event is a location that you have free access to. And so if you're running a small retreat or workshop and you could host it at your home, do that. If you could host it at a local church, if you've got a friend who's got a lake house or a retreat house and they're willing to let you use it, do that. We had a client back in the day, Cole Forrester, who would have us come out to his family's lake house. And he was a client of ours, and they gave us the opportunity to lead the event at their lake house. They didn't charge us. It was so generous. It was so kind. It made it so much easier for us to put on that event. Now, obviously, we're paying for some food. We're getting groceries, things like that. But what a cool opportunity. And so you might consider or make a list of, are there any locations that you could have access to for free that could keep expenses down but allow you to be in person with your clients? The third option, if you're not going to do Zoom and you don't have access to a free location to run your event, the appropriate free location, the third option is to book an Airbnb. And this is what I've actually done most. Most of our events at Faith to Influence have been at Airbnbs. We've probably held 15 events at Airbnbs since the company began. It maybe closer to 20 now. And so what we do is we look for an Airbnb online. Usually I look in my location, especially if you are new to this, especially if this is early on. If you find an Airbnb near where you live, it's easy for you to transport things back and forth that you might want for the events. You can even sleep at your own home. You can be comfortable in your territory. You can order from restaurants that you like or take people out to restaurants you like. I love booking an Airbnb to hold a 2 or 3 day retreat. And the way that we've done it in the past is we've really looked for an Airbnb that had a really open main room layout. My favorite kind of Airbnb for retreat space is one that has a big open living room with couches and chairs and enough seats for everyone. And ideally, in that open living room, the same big open square has the kitchen and it has the dining room and the big dining room table. I like having all of that in one big open space where things flow, where I can put snacks out on the counter, where we can eat together at the table, and while people are finishing notes on the couch from the last session. I think that that's the best environment. And if, depending on what kind of group of clients you're working with and the length of your event, you might consider booking an Airbnb that has enough rooms for everyone to stay. And so again, Airbnb close to home, that's probably my preference for most coaches, especially when you're doing this for the first time. Eventually, you might want to venture out into other areas. And so because I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I'm not holding a lot of winter retreats in Milwaukee. I could, but there's snow and it's cold, and that's not necessarily what everybody wants to do. Now, summer or fall, Wisconsin's beautiful. It's a great place to hold a retreat. But in the winter, we've got a retreat coming up, and I've booked it in Orlando. I got a really cool Airbnb that's got 12 bedrooms and enough space for all of our clients who are coming to this 2-day sales retreat to be in the space and actually stay on site if they'd like to. That's really fun. We've done this in Phoenix. We've done this in other places in Florida. And I think the opportunity to book Airbnbs in cool locations is fun as well. Believe it or not, the Airbnb that we used to hold our first retreats at, with like 6 or 8 or 10 people at a time in Colorado Springs, would only cost us like $1,500 to get it for 4 nights, so that we had enough time to set up and we could stay that extra night after we were done before people had to leave. We only paid like $1,500 initially for that before, considering food costs and all the other things, but we kept the cost really low. And I was charging over $1,000 a ticket to come to the retreat. And so all the expenses were paid for up front. Even this amazing 12-bedroom Airbnb in Florida that's massive and has a pool and a hot tub and has enough space for everyone to stay on site, for us to have like 15, 16 people on site, that Airbnb is only just over $2,000 for 3 nights. And so it's relatively cost effective, at least in my mind of what is cost effective. I'm really happy about that price. We can cover that and be effective financially and be very profitable with that kind of expense. So look into Airbnb if you're looking to run an event. It's usually cost effective. It's very fun. It's a way to bring everybody together. It's a family feel. And then you just plug your laptop into the flat screen TV in the living room and you run your presentation and your sessions right there in the living room. To me, that is super fun and a great way to do it. The fourth option is to book a co-working space or a similar office space where you've just got like a room for a day or for a couple of days. Now, this has a little bit less warmth and you're not like staying together in the retreat space. I kind of like in my retreats, in many cases, the opportunity for us to engage like after dinner and hang out and have late night conversations and build relationships and all those different things. To me, that creates something special. And I also think it's totally reasonable to book more of a professional space, and knowing your ideal clients and what their preferences might be or what your personal preference is important and valuable here. And so you can absolutely like just Google co-working spaces in your area, and they undoubtedly have conference rooms. They probably have some classroom style areas where you can book space for many people and have a successful retreat that way, allow people to get their own lodging. This is easier to do or a better option if you don't want to provide much of the food, if you don't want to be like providing dinner and breakfast and you don't want those extra logistics. Booking a co-working space is simple, it's clean, it's in and out, and it's a nice way to do it. And the fifth option is to book at a hotel. And I do think a hotel makes sense when you're getting to the space of like having a conference and you want a stage and you want a lot of like videography and you need, you've got enough people coming that you need microphones and audio visual support and all those different things. And you've got people coming from all over and they're going to need lodging already. And so being at a hotel makes sense. To me, if you're 20 or fewer people coming to your event, I would recommend holding it at a co-working space or an Airbnb. If you're above 20 people, then you could consider transitioning to hotel. But you still can absolutely make it work in a co-working space. Airbnb is going to be difficult over 20. And so once you get over 20, then you're looking at more of that professional environment, co-working space or Airbnb most likely, or excuse me, co-working space or hotel over 20. Certainly if you're getting, over 40, you're probably out of the co-working space and into the hotel environment. I just wanted to lay this out because I've gotten a few questions about it recently, and I want you to be able to consider what is best for you and to recognize that in its right timing, you can transition to these different kinds of environments. But running an event at a hotel oftentimes requires a commitment to a certain amount of spend and or a certain number of rooms, a certain amount of food budget, and it can get really expensive. And the audio video technology, that can be really expensive. And so we want to responsibly run events. And as you have success and create cash flow, then you have more potential to spend and run more expensive events. But again, in order of consideration, especially for newer coaches, consider running your events on Zoom for free or just about free, finding a free local location, your home, somebody else's home, a church that would allow you to have the space to run the event without a cost associated with the space. A third option is Airbnb. Can be quaint and wonderful. I love that. If you're going to do that, look for one that has a big open space, living room, dining room, kitchen area. The fourth option is a co-working space or other business kind of building that has a room dedicated to these types of events during the day. And the final option would be the hotel with the stage and a little bit more production value, which makes a lot of sense for bigger events. I hope this is helpful. If you're running live events, I'm excited for you. I hope you have an amazing time. I hope you create an incredible experience. And be thoughtful about being responsible over your budget. I've seen a lot of people do this wrong and get themselves in trouble. They had a really big vision for what their event was going to be like, and they committed themselves to a significant expense, and then they sold fewer tickets than they expected. Most people running events sell fewer tickets than expected. And so until you have a higher level of predictability, make sure that you can handle the expense on the front end. That's where, when I was booking an Airbnb for $1,500 and then I was food and groceries and things like that, I was ultimately spending around $3,000 to run those initial events for Faith to Influence, $3,000 or $3,500. I knew I needed to sell 3 to 4 tickets to those retreats to break even. And my goal for every event is always to break even on the front end of the event and to make my profit by making an offer at the event on the back end. But I also knew when I booked that event space, in the worst case scenario, if everything went wrong and I had to spend that $1,500 on the Airbnb and I didn't sell tickets and I was stuck with that money and I didn't have a refund policy in place, I could handle that loss of the $1,500. What we don't want to do is put ourselves in a dangerous situation where we're overspending in a way that we have too much pressure on the result as an early coach. So be responsible and make it fun, and know that there can be phases to this for you in your business. Events are amazing. It's one of the coolest things you can do for yourself, for your clients, and to create a great experience in your business and camaraderie and all the goodness. By the way, if you would like to check out one of our upcoming events, we are running our next conference in July of 2026 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. CCA Live 2026, Christian Coaches Academy Live. That's going to be in person at a hotel in Milwaukee. It's going to be a beautiful and fun event. You can find out more details for that at www.f2itribe.com/CCA Live 2026. F2I, that's the number 2. F, the number 2, the letter I.com, or excuse me, F2itribe.com/CCA Live 2026. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I'll talk to you all again soon. God bless you. Cheers.